Emma McClarkin, Conservative MEP for the East Midlands. What do you think has gone wrong in this case involving ski instructors?
Well, these British ski instructors have been pulled off of ski lifts, put in prison cells and had their passports taken away from them. Why? Because they were qualified to work on the piste, but they're not French. And unfortunately, we have a problem here where the EU is not reacting urgently in this matter to make sure that we can have that freedom to move and work in other countries.
Are you in any doubt that these ski instructors, I should say, are entitled to work in France, that their qualifications qualify, that they're relevant to working in France?
There has been many issues around ski instructors from other countries skiing in France for many years, but I know that they are in possession of an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding stamp on their paperwork, on their qualifications, which should be recognised and isn't being recognised by the courts, and that's why I'm insisting that the EU take action on this urgently to make sure they can get back to their lives in France, but also back to work.
For you, does this show the importance of qualifications being applicable across different countries? That's something that you've worked on for a number of years.
It's fundamental part of the single market that people can work and move in other countries. And I will be speaking with the French Commissioner for the single market today and in telling him in no uncertain terms that if this is a fundamental principle, then he needs to back that up by the recognition of these qualifications.
And how? How could the EU then take a more active role in enforcing what you say is European law after all?
Well, this is the joke. They grandstand here in Strasbourg and here at the European Parliament saying that they are championing the mutual recognition of professional qualifications. We only voted on it a couple of months ago, and yet here we have a clear example in France on a specific issue that has been targeted on ski instructors before. It's still happening. Implementation is not fair across the board. It needs to be that way.
What can the EU do then? What powers does the EU have to ensure enforcement?
Well, in the UK, where we are being taken to court by the European Union for our immigration policies that we are trying to put in place and safeguarding our benefits system, making sure people are moving to the UK to work in the first place, we're having infringements taken out against us. Now, what's happening about this clear breach of EU law in a very specific case in France? Absolutely nothing as yet, and that is why I'm having the meetings today to chase that up and make sure action is being taken.
There's also been claims in the media about the way that these ski instructors have been treated. Is that something you're concerned about? You know, these are their livelihoods. This is their working life that's presumably being put at jeopardy with this action by the police.
Yeah, frankly, it's outrageous the way the French have been treating our British ski instructors out there. They have been treated like criminals from the get-go. They've had their passports removed from them. They have been banned from working. They're not going to court until April the 7th, and that means they're losing business, and that economic damage that they will do, which is exactly what they're trying to do, will be very hard to recover from. That's why we need to stand squarely behind our 7 ski instructors that have been stopped from performing their work and make sure we fight for their right to work.
2 final questions to sum up, really. First of all, kind of the short term. What would you like to see happen in the short term to help these particular instructors?
I'll be asking the Commissioner for the single market to pick up the phone to Paris today and make sure that these guys have their papers recognised as they are entitled to and as they should be, and allow them to get back to work. They have disappointed guests and holiday makers, people that they were teaching on the slopes that they are unable to cater for right now. That is damaging their business, and it's bad for the EU, and it should recognise that.
And just finally, on the long term then, what would you like to see happen in the longer term about the bigger picture issue that's perhaps at stake here?
Well, this is just another example of where the EU says that it is happening, there is recognition across the board, and there will be even implementation of that EU directive. There hasn't been, it isn't happening on the ground, and so they need to make sure that if they're going to legislate in an area, if they're going to champion it and say that it will happen, it actually delivers.